in a smoking room. Two friends met and talked. Now there's a topic for you. The ghosts in English public schools. Now what was there? It's nearly 40 years ago. Oh, there was the story of the woman who locked her door and a voice rang out from behind the curtain and said, "Ooh, how marvellously we are locked in." Oh, I remember that. And do you remember the one about the thing that was met on the street, and that when people met the thing that had no face or lips, they almost died with fear? Oh yes, yes. Outside our school that happened. Well, then there was that room that if anyone was locked in, and they were found the next morning, and before they died they said only, "I have seen it." Yes, yes, yes. We always said that happened to our Latin master. He disappeared and nobody knew where he was. Unoriginal, of course. These days, I suspect that they would have been augmented by the Strand magazine and whatever mystic magazines people read now. I'm sure they are. They were before my time. But I don't suppose you've ever met anyone who's seen a ghost at an English prep school? No, of course not. But from the way you're talking, I imagine that you think you have. Well, yes, I suppose so. It was nearly 45 years ago. I was a boarder in a school. It was on the west of London, and the Thames Valley it was. I think it might have been an attractive place. Boys seldom think their schools are attractive. A big white Georgian house on which was built some sort of Gothic hall. Lovely trees too. I went back 20 years ago for an old boys network, and yeah, it was lovely. Now, I was there as a boarder, and on my 4th term there, 2 people joined. First of all, the lad who was going to become my friend. Macintosh, they called him. His relatives came from Scotland, I think. I haven't seen him in 30 years. Anyway, he wasn't particularly good at games or sport, but he suited me. We were pals. About the same time, a new master to take Latin joined us. A Mr. Simmons. Now, Mr. Simmons was far too good a master for any of the boys to try any sauce on them. But for all his disciplinarian ways, he was a very, very good teacher. He made you care about the ancient Romans in a way I could never for the moderns. More than that, he was a man who had clearly had a past. There was often quite a competition for who walked with him on the school walks, for he could tell a tale or two. He had travelled far. I remember one time he took out from his breast pocket, it was a golden medallion of some bizarre Byzantine empire, with a ludicrous hat. Gold it was. And on the other side, he had rubbed out whatever design ship, perhaps it was, and written his initials, GWS, and the date, 97. Well, he said he kept it on him always, for good luck. Now, that master had a technique for teaching Latin. He would teach you the principles on the board, and then he would get you to write them down. Make a sentence of your own, and he would mark them there and then in the class. And boys who were particularly outlandish or tried to play any sauce with him, he he would humiliate there and then. So none of us did. I remember he was teaching that dreadful construction, the remembering. We remember. Takes the genitive. Oh. Anyway, we all had to write a sentence, and lots of people wrote things like, we remember our country, and I put down, I remember that there's jam for tea, which I thought was quite funny. He didn't, but never mind. But my friend, Mackintosh, wasn't writing a sentence. He was staring blank. So I kicked him under the chair. Hurry up! None of us can get going, I shouted, whispered in his ear. Insistent. And all of a sudden, he wrote a sentence down. That was as if in a dream. Quick it was. And he put it up with the rest, and Mr. Simpson looked at them all one by one. Then all of a sudden, he looked at Mackintosh's, and he double took. Now, it was the end of the lesson, but just as we were leaving, he asked my friend to stay, and wondering what was happening, I waited outside. I loitered. And when Mackintosh came out, I said, "What is it?" And he replied, "Master, he seems to be really upset with me." "Why? Did you give him any sauce?" "No." "But it was about what I wrote." "Why? What did you write?" "I don't know." "What do you mean?" "Well, I know I had a vision of it, but I don't know what it means." "Oh, tell me." "I had a vision of a well by 4 great trees." "What are those trees with the red berries? Do you mean mountain ash?" "No, I'll tell you. I mean yew trees." So I wrote in Latin, "Remembering the well by the 4 yew trees." And that seemed to upset Mr. Simpson. In a way, I couldn't possibly imagine why. I couldn't imagine why either at the time. Perhaps I do now. Well, Mr. Simpson was away for half a day afterwards, but he was back the next day, and everything went on before for a week or more. But at the end of the week or more, he was again giving that Latin exercise. And we all handed up our scripts, all 12 boys. And he picked up the first one. And he looked at it. And all of a sudden, he must have had it in a hip flask. He took out a great big slug of something. Whiskey, perhaps. And ran out of the room. Well, we waited to see if he'd come back. But he didn't. And then we all went up and looked at the desk. And we looked at the papers. And there was a paper on the top written in red ink that none of us used. And we counted the number of papers, and there were 12 boys and 13 pieces of paper. And what did the paper say? I'm coming to that. It said, "If you will not come for me, then I will come for you." Written in some strange flowing script. Strange to say, although I kept that paper, I marked it with my thumbprint. The paper faded before I got out of the room, when I put it in my pocket, and I've never seen the writing again. Anyway, Mr. Simpson disappeared. It was said he was ill. For a week or more he lay upon his bed, and then he came back to the school and taught for another day. And it was the day after, that one night, cold full moon it was. I woke up. I was being woken up. Mackintosh shook me awake and said, come quickly, there's been a burglary. At least I think there has." And I said, "What?" And he said, "Well, I saw somebody at Mr. Simpson's room. Mr. Simpson, you must know, slept with the staff in the main Georgian house. I slept with the boys, and me and obviously Mackintosh, in the dormitories, which were at right angles to it, so the master's and the boys' windows could see each other. And we knew which was Mr. Simpson's room. Come quick." And I came, and there was nothing but the full cold moonlight and a half-open window on a cold night. See, has he got in? What do you think? No, I don't think he got in. I don't think that was what it was. But what do you mean? Have you woken me up to stare at an open window in the middle of the night? I'm going back to bed. No, I'll tell you. It was about 1/4 ago. I woke up and I was sitting here and the moon had just come out. And I looked out and there on the windsill of Mr. Simpson's bedroom, there was a figure, man or woman? Man, I think. Fat, thin, oh, deadly thin, and very wet. And what? I don't think it was alive. How could you tell? How could you tell? I don't know. But I could tell. It was beckoning, and it opened the window and beckoned, and I could feel that Mr. Simpson didn't want to come, but that he was going to. And then I ran to wake you up. And now you've got us both staring out, looking at an open window on a cold night. You'll get a cold, but nothing more. But you know, it was strange. I was glad of the company looking out at that lonely window. I couldn't imagine what it felt like for my friend Mackintosh. Well, Mr. Simpson frankly disappeared. He was never heard of again in the school, and the school hushed it up. That was it. And it is an approaching to a ghost story, I think. Now, this story was told to many, many people. And so it was, the autumn after, one of them had heard it, in Ireland. He was staying with his friends. And his friends said, "Come, look at this." And they held up a gold coin, a Byzantine coin, with the head of an emperor and a bizarre hat upon it. And what upon the other side? And the man who had been told the story said, "What is this? Where did you find it?" "Well, it must have been a bad business. Some 45 years or more, we think. Do you notice when you went round the garden there was a well?" "Oh yes, at the back. Amongst the yew trees." "Yes. We're going to clear away those yew trees. But they're fine trees." "We're going to clear them away because of what we found in the well." "Could it be you found a body?" "Oh, we found more than that. 2 bodies. They had been there, well, one 45 years or so, and the other, oh, he looked all bone. He looked like he'd been there far longer, and yet he was locked around the first body, hard, as if to make sure it could never leave. A bad business," I said. "A bad business." It does sound it. But can you find out or see what's engraved on the other side of the coin? I'll hold it up to the light. It's writing. It says GWS 97.